Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. This is Jess, and with me is a true fucking star. Bob the Drag Queen is a drag entertainer, a stand-up comedian. He's the star of the HBO docuseries We're Here, and, by the way, won RuPaul's Drag Race Season 8. Please welcome to the stage, Bob the Drag Queen.
It feels like I'm about to be like in like an actual event space with you right now.
Oh yeah, this is a performance.
Yeah, I feel like there's an audience here.
How are you, Bob?
I'm pretty good. I've recently moved to Los Angeles.
How long did you live in New York before you moved to LA? Like very, very recently.
I lived in New York City for 12 years. So I lived there since I was 22. I'm now 34. And I just moved about a month ago.
Very good. And did you just move for career reasons or a relationship? Like, why'd you move?
Well, I moved to LA because I wanted to buy a home, and I felt like I can get more bang for my buck in the surrounding LA area than I can in the surrounding New York area. And as we know, the surrounding New York area means New Jersey or an hour and a half away in Philadelphia. And I feel like living in the suburbs of LA, you probably can just live a different life. I mean, I've also looked at Atlanta. I was looking at Austin, Texas. Now that Atlanta went blue, now that Georgia went blue, I might go back. I might go to Atlanta. Who knows? I'm from Atlanta, actually. I grew up all over the South, actually.
And what initially brought you to New York City at 22?
Well, I moved to New York City to be a comedian. I moved to New York City to tell jokes and to be on Broadway. No one told me that if you're going to be on Broadway, you really need to know how to sing and dance. No one told me. So when I got there, I was like, well, I guess I'm not doing Broadway. But I might still do Broadway. Who knows? Maybe it's still in my prospects. But yeah, I moved there to become a performer. Well, I was already professionally performing before, but I was looking to like get myself to the next level, I guess.
So you originally set out to be a stand-up, which is so unique. For somebody who would eventually wind up doing drag and like performing in drag and RuPaul's Drag Race, that's really how you're best known. It's wild that your background is in legit stand-up comedy, which historically is hyper masculine and back in the day not friendly to women. Like in the day, like I'm sure you've heard stories like women on the road, they would only put one woman on a show, like a show like in Chicago, wherever. What was when you first started here? What were you playing the cellar? Like where were you performing? Gotham?
Okay, so my first show ever in New York City was at the New York Comedy Club. I did a bringer at the New York Comedy Club. I used to work at this restaurant.
Tell everyone what a bringer is.
Oh, for those who don't know what a bringer is when they'll let you do the show if you can bring 5 people. If you can bring 3 or 5 people, then you get to go on. And if you only brought 2 people or 1 person, bitch, they won't let you go on. And they will keep your friends' money. So I was working at this restaurant called the Jekyll and Hyde Club, which is this like tourist trap in Midtown that doesn't even exist anymore. It's gone now. And I convinced all of my friends to come see me do stand-up because I was doing it. I was also making my drag debut. So I ended up getting I think 13 people to come see me. And then someone was like, you're funny. Then I heard of another bringer they did at Caroline's, which is probably the biggest. Not probably. It is the biggest comedy club in America, probably, to be honest. It's the biggest one in New York City.
It is truly, the sign is iconic.
It's in Times Square. It's massive. It's a pretty big deal. Huge names go there. So I did a bringer show there. Now, their bringer was 15 people. You had to bring 15 people to go on stage at Caroline's. And I was somehow able to manage to get 25 people. I don't know how I did this, but I got 25 people to come see me. And then I got booked on Colin Kane's show, Wrong Side of the Brain. So I was doing Colin Kane's show, and that was pretty much my venture into stand-up. And I did a few times at Gotham. I did a couple of stand-up competitions, stand-up for diversity. I won like New York's best new comic in 2010 or 11 maybe.
It's wild what you just said. So you basically merged stand-up comedy and drag. Like you're the first person I'm sure to ever do this at this level of success. Like what came first?
Well, I was writing stand-up jokes for a long time. I was writing jokes when I was working. I started writing jokes, I was like 19 or 18, but I just never got on stage. I was working in children's theater, but I never got on stage. I was also, I've always loved writing, to be honest. I was writing poetry for a while. I was really into the slam poetry scene. At one point, I thought I was going to be like this big slam. It's like big slam poet. Now I think back, that's such a silly concept. I was trying to be in like slam poetry fest like all around the world, but that never panned out. And I was also writing stand-up comedy at the same time. But then I never got the courage to get on stage until I decided to get in full drag and give it a shot down at the New York Comedy Club on the East Side.
And when did you first start experimenting with drag?
I mean, my first time ever like actually doing any kind of drag was, I want to say, in college in my makeup class. We did opposite sex makeup. Is what we called it. Opposite. It sounded like I went to college in the 80s. It was not. It was 2005 or 2004 this time. And I had long hair at the time, very long hair. And I remember doing this and thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I'm really like doing, I don't think I even had the word drag in my vernacular at the time. And then I didn't start doing like drag until after watching RuPaul's Drag Race season 1. So I did it like, I dabbled in it when I was 18 for a class. And then I actually did what I was calling drag when I was 22.
So you were legitimately just a fan of Drag Race, the show.
Yep.
And you were like, I'm actually going to give this a shot and do this.
Yeah, I remember seeing on Drag Race and being like, that looks amazing. I could do that. And then I went on the internet. This is before Amazon was like I think this is before Amazon Prime existed. I Googled Ben Nye TK7, which is like a dark skinned Ben Nye makeup kit. Because that's what I used in college. And I was like, oh, this is all I need to do drag. These are all the tools I need to do drag. And then I just started like, dabbling in, in the dark arts.
And what gave you the nerve
when you started?
Yeah, what gave you the goddamn audacity to think that you could get away with getting on stage doing stand-up in drag?
Well, I think I don't know. I just wanted to do it. I mean, I know that sounds like so simple. Maybe I'm oversimplifying, but I just really wanted to do it.
How did the audience react to you?
Well, I remember there were a lot of my friends there. Remember, I had more people there than anyone else. So it was like a lot of like cheering for me, a lot of, woo. And there were people who were uncomfortable with me being in drag. There were people who were like nervous about seeing this big drag queen on stage. And I was telling some pretty aggressive jokes. And I don't know, but everyone thought I was funny. Like whatever preconceived notion they had, they thought I was really funny. I remember doing Colin Kane's show, and Judah Friedlander came up to me and was like, wow, you're really funny. And whenever you're a drag queen at one of these gigs, people are always shocked that you're actually funny. Wow, you're actually, I'm like, wow, you were funny. And I go, well, I mean, I'm in a comedy show. I hope I should be funny.
Yeah, because they probably like the straight male comics who have, just been at it for decades on the road. When they don't know you, they probably just think it's a gimmick or a joke or something.
Yeah, they think it's like a hack act, or I'm going to get up and be like, and make a bunch of jokes like, I'm really a man. And by the way, I mean, that comedy has its place. But if anyone's ever seen my stand-up, I would like to think that it's more nuanced than I'm a man wearing a dress. I have 2 specials out right now. One is called Suspiciously Large Woman, which is available on Amazon Prime. Then I have Bob the Drag Queen Live at Caroline's, available on iTunes, which you can purchase.
I'm not sure which special it is, but I love your bit about basically like the aftermath of winning Drag Race, like how you won the $100,000 and you're like, yeah, that lasted yeah, I went through that in a week.
Yeah,
like living in New York City.
That was in Bob the Drag Queen Live at Caroline's. That's the real tea. Living in New York, I talk about culture shock. Moving from Columbus, Georgia to New York City. And I had never really been in New York. I visited New York City once before, but I didn't even leave Brooklyn. I was in like the outskirts of Brooklyn, like down by Canarsie. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I came to JFK, I came to visit a friend, and he didn't give me the New York experience. We just stayed in what's that neighborhood? It's like it's some neighborhood in Brooklyn, which I have not been back to since I went that one time. And I spent a week in this neighborhood. It was Bay Ridge.
Bay Ridge. Okay, yeah, that's far.
Yeah.
It's far out.
I was in Bay Ridge for like a week. Imagine this. Imagine going to New York City and never leaving Bay Ridge. Imagine you've never been. Listen to me, Jessica. Imagine you've never been to New York City and you visit Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and you stay there the entire week. And I also went without enough money to get back. I didn't have enough money to fly home. I bought a one-way ticket. There used to be this airline called something it was AirTran. I don't think they exist anymore. And if you were under 22, you could fly standby. This is so bootleg. You could fly standby. So you basically just go to the airport and like you pay like I think like it's like $60 or $70.
And pray that you can get on the flight.
And and then if you don't get it, you just wait around in the airport long enough. It was called X-Fare. You just wait around in the airport long enough until you catch a flight. So I just waited around. Actually, I got lucky, and I caught the flight to New York. And then I didn't have money to get back the $60. I didn't have the $60 to get back, so I had to get a job on Long Island. Like, I wish someone would have been like, "Girl, this ain't it. Not this." I got a job at Ruby Tuesday on Long Island.
Wait, do you remember where on Long Island it was?
I don't remember. There can't be that many Ruby Tuesdays on Long Island, right?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, Long Island is huge. It was pretty close. It was South Shore for sure. It was not. I didn't drive.
I literally grew up on the South Shore of Long Island. That's why I'm interested in this.
Yeah, it's definitely South Shore. And I remember driving to this fucking Ruby Tuesday. It was insane. I went and did an interview. This is so crazy. I went once for an interview. I drove my friend's car from Brooklyn, but then I got trapped on the Verrazano Bridge. For those of you not from New York City, the Verrazano Bridge goes to Staten Island. Now you have to pay to get into Staten Island. You have to, and listen to me carefully, listeners. You have to pay to get out of Staten Island. So there's a
and you
Staten Island.
don't want to get stuck there.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck in Trump Town, NYC. So I'm driving. And I'm caught. Once you're on this Verrazano Bridge, you cannot turn around. So I took a wrong turn trying to get to Long Island from Bay Ridge. I end up in Staten Island, and I get to and the lady's like, "Hey, I need you to the fare is like $7 or $11. Can't remember what it was." And I said, "Oh, I don't have that." And she goes, "You know what? It's not a big deal." And she wrote me this little ticket, and it was like, mail the money here, and it'll be fine. So I took it, and then I took a U-turn, and I tried to leave. And then the guy was like, "You have to pay to leave." And I was like, "Oh, but I got here on accident." He goes, "No, you have to pay." And I said, "Well, just give me one more of these." And I held up my little ticket. And he said, "Oh, yeah, just pull right up here." And I said, "Oh, you're going to write me another little thing?" He said, "No, we're about to arrest you." And I was like, What? He goes, "You can't have two of those. You have to pay." I said, "But I don't have any money. Like, I'm trying to go get a job interview. I have no money. You can't arrest me. I'm not from here. Like I'm from Georgia." So I'm like 22. I'm like 170 pounds, soaking wet with rain boots on. And I'm like I have a mohawk, and I'm like crying because he's like, "We're going to arrest you in New York City. We're going to tow this car, my friend's car." And I was like freaking out, and I just started crying. And then he gave me like another ticket, and I mailed them their $26 like later. It was insane. It was insane.
What the hell was my question? Oh, yes, this is the question. Wait,
Sorry.
This is where I was trying to go. No, that I love that story. So what was your first big break as a drag performer in the city?
Okay, if I'm gonna call my first big break for me, I got to work at Barracuda. So Barracuda is legendary. Like the legends. I mean, Peppermint, Candace Kane, Jackie Beat, Mona Foote. I mean, you name an iconic drag queen from New York City, Varla Jean Merman, they worked at Barracuda. So I was working in the nightlife scene for about 3 years under the name Kitten with a Whip. That was my first drag name.
Yes, I wanted to get into the name. Yes, so I knew that Bob the Drag Queen was not your original name. Talk about Kitten with the Whip and what made you change it.
So there's an old Anne Margaret movie called Kitten with a Whip. It's about this woman she's a mistress, but she's like saucy and she's dangerous. And the guy she's fucking is like, "We can't be together anymore. I'm married. Don't you see?" And then she goes crazy and she's obsessive. It's like obsession. She's a kitten, but she has a whip. It's a phrase like, "You look sweet, but I'm really saucy." Kitten with a whip. And no one ever got it. They call me Katie. They call me Kate. They call me Kitty, and I was like, my name is Kitten. It's not cat or my name is Kitten. And no one would call me Kitten. It was driving me crazy. And I was like, what kind of a name could they just not fuck up? And I was like, you know what? Bob. There's only 2 letters in it. There's a B, there's an O, and the B comes back around. No one can mess up Bob. No one can mess up Bob. So I started going by Bob. I told all my friends I was going to name myself Bob the Drag Queen, and they all informed me that was a horrible name, and that I should not do it, and that it would not be successful. And then I was like, well, you just gave me all the ammunition I need to make Bob the Drag Queen one of the most respected names in drag. And I always thought, I took the name, I thought it'd be really funny if I went to like Miss Continental or some pageant and they had to announce that the winner was Bob. I always thought that'd be so funny. And then I actually ended up getting on Drag Race, and RuPaul had to announce that the winner was Bob. And it's the longest, slowest burn for a joke.
I know.
But it really paid off.
So what you were saying about Barracuda is 100% true. Like, if a queen got a spot at Barracuda, it meant that she was one of the best goddamn drag queens.
100%. And not only that, but I got Monday nights. Now, Mondays were legendary. So for about 20 something years, there were only 3 hosts of Monday nights at Barracuda. Candace Kane did 10 years. Peppermint did 6 years. And I did 3 or 4 years. So for about 20 years, there were only 3 drag queens working on those nights, and I was there's still people working there. But for that big chunk, I remember thinking to myself, like, I cannot believe that I have Peppermint's old night. I remember when I heard that I was getting, because I used to go see Peppermint on Monday nights. When I heard that I was getting Monday nights at Barracuda, it was, I really felt like I had arrived. And Bob Pontarelli, who owns Barracuda, really like believed in me for whatever reason. He just really thought I was just like the bee's knees. I don't know. The Barracuda was like the big stepping stone that really my career started taking off in New York City.
You know, I have a lot of friends who came up through UCB.
Oh, the UCB kids used to love my shows.
Yo, the UCB kids, the kids who were like studying sketch and like going through the whole program there, they used to tell me, because I was friends with a whole community of people trying to do sketch. Matt Rogers,
Bowen Yang used to come over there.
Kate McKinnon came up through UCB.
Work.
My friends there used to tout that the funniest comedy show in New York City is Bob the Drag Queen.
That's
Monday
so
nights
funny.
at Barracuda.
It's so funny to me. Well,
Seriously.
Josh Sharp and Aaron Jackson used to do this show called Fucking Identical Twins. And they would always joke that the official chat back was at Barracuda during my show. So they would like do like after they did twice a month, they did this show, and they would just bring their entire crowds over. And somehow I got really popular with the comedy community. Mateo Lane, Bowen Yang, Matt Rogers, all these comedians, Kate McKinnon, Nicole Byer, they used to all come to like Monday nights and just hang out at the bar while I was doing this show. I mean, at the time they weren't all famous. None of us were famous. We were just a bunch of joke tellers hanging out in a bar on Monday nights.
So you did Barracuda Monday nights, and the other nights of the week, were you just going around? I had a lot of gigs. So I would work. Let me give you my whole schedule. I would work Sunday at Hardware in Hell's Kitchen, and then I would go from there. I would go do the Monster. So I did 2 shows on Sundays, and on Monday I did Barracuda. On Tuesdays I did Industry. On Wednesdays I did Therapy. On Thursdays I did Boots and Saddles, and on Fridays and Saturdays I was off. So I did about, 7 shows a week. And is it true that RuPaul specifically sought you out?
So here's the whole story. The short answer is, RuPaul came to the Monster to watch me do a show. So years ago, actually, you might be the first person I'm telling this story to, actually. Years ago, I was on a cruise ship. And I was doing drag shows on this cruise ship. And Kathy Nagimy was also booked. Yes, the Kathy Nagimy, Peggy from King of the Hill, Hocus Pocus, Sister Act, I mean, all that. So Kathy Nagimy came to my show, and she was in awe. And then after the show, I was getting mobbed by people. And then Kathy Nagimy came up and she goes, "Meet me upstairs by the French fries." On this cruise ship. And I said, okay. So I went upstairs to like hang out with Kathy Nagimy, and she goes, "Have you ever auditioned for Drag Race?" And I was like, "Kathy, everyone's auditioned for Drag Race. Anyone that they haven't is lying. Like, we all auditioned for Drag Race." And she goes, "1 second." And she pulls out her phone And then she calls RuPaul. She goes, boop, 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 boop. But he didn't answer. Went straight to voicemail. She goes, hey, RuPaul, you need to call me back. I'm sitting. She goes, hey, RuPaul, you need to call me back. I'm sitting with the next winner of your show. And then she hung up.
And you all listeners, you need to know that Bob just somehow found a corded phone. Like, what was that? You have a landline?
I'm actually at my manager's office right now. I come here during the day. So I can do work so I'm not lazy sitting at home. But anyway.
That was okay. Wait. Let's get back into it. So Kathy Nagimy leaves RuPaul.
That says, I'm sitting with the next winner of your show. I'm sitting here. And then months later, I was working at the Monster. And then someone runs downstairs and goes, Bob, RuPaul is here. And I was like, wait, what? And he goes, he just walked to the front door and said, is Bob the drag queen working tonight? And I was like, what? I was like freaking out. So everyone's running around the Monster, but like, don't. But RuPaul was kind of in disguise. He was wearing this big orange bubble jacket with like a bucket hat. He looked like a character from Fat Albert. like with this big. And then, I remember being like, don't tell anyone. RuPaul was like hiding in the corner. And I was like, everyone be cool, guys. Don't do anything weird. Everyone just be fucking cool. And then the DJ, I told the DJ for some fucking reason, DJ Scotty Rocks. And then he started playing Sissy That Walk. So he started playing Sissy That Walk. And then everyone in the club, because the song was so huge, we're all just going off. Everyone's like turning it. And I'm looking at RuPaul, who's like lighting up. Like he's glowing because no one knows he's there. But everyone's dancing to Sissy That Walk. This was honestly like a movie moment. And then I went up there, I told my jokes, I did my thing, I did my numbers. RuPaul never said a word to me, and then RuPaul just left. And then left without a word, and then the next day just randomly tweeted, great job, Bob the Drag Queen. Or something. It was something like, just saw Bob the Drag Queen, what a great show. It was crazy.
And then did they recruit you to audition? Like, I know that you auditioned a few times, but take me into the last audition.
Well, actually, it's the last two auditions. So my third audition, they wrote me on Facebook and were like, hey, you should audition for Drag Race. And I said, okay. But I had planned on auditioning anyway. So I sent in an audition tape and I never heard back. I was like, whatever. And the next year they said, hey, you should audition for Drag Race. And I wrote back and I said, you guys said the same thing last year and you never wrote me back. And they said, just do it. And then I did it. And then next thing you know, I was on RuPaul's Drag Race.
It's just really unbelievable and so full circle that you started doing drag because of this show. And now you won your season. And wasn't it the first season to win an Emmy?
We were the first season to be nominated for an Emmy and to win. I think we won Best Costume. Yeah.
Like, so how does that feel that you were so inspired by this show and now look at you now?
It feels, the quickest word is it does feel validating. But, you know, I really look at it. My mom years ago said something to me that really stuck with me. My mom said, I was asking her why she'd never done drugs. She'd never done coke. She doesn't smoke cigarettes. She doesn't drink. I remember being like, why don't you do any of that? Because there's a lot of drug addiction in my family. She goes, well, if they could get addicted, then why wouldn't I? So basically what my mom was saying was anything other people can do, good or bad, I can do it too. What made you think that, you know, you could raise these two kids by yourself? She goes, well, I saw other people doing this, why couldn't I? And I look at people doing stuff and I just think to myself, why wouldn't I be able to do that? I do it all the time. I'm like, of course I could do it. I'm like, I'm looking at someone do it. So clearly it can be done. I know I can do that. So winning RuPaul's Drag Race did not seem far-fetched. I wish I was one of those folks who could say like, and it was beyond my wildest dreams. It was not beyond my wildest dreams. It was perfectly within my dreams. I thought I was completely capable of it. And that didn't seem far-fetched to me.
Well, unlike some of the other queens, you did go in there a fully formed being. Like you had this confidence throughout. Like it seemed like you knew you were going to dominate.
I don't want to give the notion I'm fully formed. I mean, I have a lot of work to do, and I've certainly grown a lot since 2015. But I definitely believed in myself, and I definitely believed that I could do it. And if I didn't win, it would have. To quote Valentina, this does not go with my fantasy. This does not make sense with my fantasy. Like my fantasy was I go and I win, and that's how that works, you know.
How did you first discover the show?
Oh, through TiVo. I had TiVo. This is how long ago it was. Back in 2008. when there was TiVo, I was just flipping through the chat through. I went to the logo of the gay channel, and then you remember how you could like skip ahead and see what was going on? I was just skipping to see what was there. And it was a bunch of like not good stuff. And then I saw RuPaul's Drag Race. And I said, RuPaul has a TV show? Oh my God. So I hit record, and then I watched it when I got home, and I have literally not missed an episode since.
Wait, so when you were growing up, what was your first image of drag?
My first image of drag was...
What were your influences?
Well, my first thing seeing drag was Tu Wong Fu. And I remember loving that movie. I remember thinking that John Leguizamo and Wesley Snipes and Patrick Swayze were so funny and so talented and so beautiful and so brilliant. And I also remember seeing RuPaul in the movie and asking my mom, like, what's up with this drag queen? Like, why does she get a special interest? Like, there are all these queens like running around, who a lot of them, by the way, are my friends now, like Lipsinka, and like a lot of those queens in the opening scene are you know, colleagues of mine at this point. But I remember this one drag queen coming down from the ceiling in a Confederate flag dress, who seemed to just be more everything than all the other drag queens. And I asked my mom who it was, and she was like, that's RuPaul. Yeah. I mean, I had some scary notions of drag queens growing up too. One of my mom's best friends, my mom used to own a gay bar. And at that gay bar, the drag club, one of the people who worked there.
Your mom used to
own my mom used to own
a
queer bar in Columbus, Georgia. They did drag shows called Sensations. And when I would go visit the bar during the day, this guy named Sidney who used to work there was a really like funny, flamboyant, like TV flamboyant gay guy. And he used to always tell me to not trust drag queens. He would warn me how dangerous drag queens were, because he once had to break up a fight in the parking lot, and this drag queen pulled out a gun and she shot him. So for a long time I was afraid of drag queens, because I was like, they shoot people. To be fair, I think there should be a nice, healthy fear of drag queens. Like, you should treat drag queens like a gorilla in a cage at the zoo. Like, don't get too close. Don't put your fingers in the cage. Don't grab the bars, because the drag queen will mangle you.
Who were your other like major influences, like either in music, movies, TV? Like, who did you idolize?
Two of my favorite ladies are Carol Channing and Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, I have tattoos of them on my body. I love Whoopi Goldberg. I love Carol Channing. In terms of drag, my biggest influences in the New York City scene were Peppermint, Bianca Del Rio, and Sherry Vine. These three were like the three crazy witch aunts that raised me without them knowing that they were raising me. I would like go to their shows and steal their tricks and look at their makeup and, you know, watch the way they would wow a crowd or craft a joke or make up a number.
Talk to me about Whoopi Goldberg. Why Whoopi?
I think because she was a reflection of myself. I mean, we literally look alike. And she also just is in so many of my favorite movies growing up as a child. I mean, Sister Act, Color Purple, The Lion King, Karina, Long Walk Home, Ghost. She was just integral in my childhood. And seeing someone that I thought looked like me just really, really being the queen of Hollywood for about a solid 15 years was remarkable to me.
Did you ever get to meet her?
I ended up meeting her randomly because I was in the New York Comedy Festival, and so was she. We were both in the New York Comedy Festival, and I met her because she was doing Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, and then she just randomly invited me to her birthday party in Las Vegas. So I flew out to Vegas to go to her birthday party. We spent the weekend together, and then we ended up. She also invited me to come watch The View, and like hang out in her dressing room. And then she gave me a pair of shoes. And then like we did 2 gigs together during World Pride the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots. And we text sometimes, not a lot. Like, we're not best friends, but she knows who I am and I know who she is.
So wait, back up to this birthday that you then spent the weekend together.
So she invited me out to Las Vegas to just celebrate her birthday because her granddaughter was a big Bob the Drag Queen fan. So I think it was like Whoopi getting grandma points with her granddaughter. So I was hanging out with Whoopi Goldberg. So I was like, this is amazing. We played blackjack together. I was backstage at her shows. We ate together. It was like this whole thing. I was just hanging out with Whoopi Goldberg for a weekend.
So during this time that you spent with her, did she give you any nuggets of wisdom?
No, not really. I mean, she helped me win $400 at blackjack. but she wasn't like dropping knowledge. I mean, she wasn't like, here's the tips to the secrets of the business, kid. We were just hanging out. Like, it was literally just hanging out on Whoopi's birthday.
You said earlier your dream was to be on Broadway. It seems like drag performers are legitimized today in a way that they never were in the 90s. For example, you appeared in Angels in America. Peppermint was on Broadway. Do you think queens are starting to transcend Drag Race?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily transcending Drag Race. It would be foolish of me to say that the success of drag is not directly because of RuPaul's Drag Race. Because of RuPaul and the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race and the work that we're doing and comedians like Bianca Del Rio and actors like Peppermint and musicians like Monet Exchange and artists like Trixie and Katya and Manila Luzon and Bibi Zahara Benet, Violet Chachki being on like in Vogue and Valentina being in Vogue and Miss Fame being in Vogue, like all these drag queens. I mean, I always say this, listen, drag queens are a lot like human beings. Anything that a human being can do, there's probably a drag queen that can do it too. So it's not like, I think there's this idea that a lot of people think that you do drag as a last resort, which is such a horrible idea. I mean, it should not be it's a passion. You have to really want to do it. Otherwise, you're just bullying your body, bullying your bank account, and bullying yourself as a social person.
I want to talk about Angels in America. How did you get the gig?
So Tony Kushner, who wrote Angels in America, and if you don't know him, he's the Pulitzer Prize winning writer who wrote Angels. He wrote Lincoln. He wrote Carolina Change. He wrote the new book for West Side Story, the movie coming out. He's a big deal. So Tony Kushner watches RuPaul's Drag Race, and somehow from watching me on Drag Race, he thought to himself, wow, I bet Bob can act. So he went to my website. He literally went to my website. There's a link that says book the drag queen, and he filled out the thing. I was like, will Bob audition to be in Angels in America? So then I sent in an audition tape, and then I got cast. So I flew out, spent 6 months in Berkeley, doing Angels with Tony Taccone and Tony Kushner with a really great cast. I mean, we had Steven Spinella, who was in the original cast of Angels, Randy Harrison, who was in the cast of Queer as Folk, Frankie Ferragamo, who was in Black Panther.
It's such an insane opportunity. I'm not sure if you watch Bravo, but Watch What Happens Live always has queens when there's like a big diva on, like J-Lo, Gaga. Is that a coveted opportunity for queens or no?
I've done it. I've done Watch What Happens Live. I did, well, it was actually kind of weird. I did Tina Turner, which is weird because because the guest was Angela Bassett. It was a whole thing.
What happened? It went over poorly?
No, it didn't go over poorly. It was weird that on this day they had drag queens dressing up like Kathy Bates because Kathy Bates was there, and they had drag queens dressing up like Tina Turner because Angela Bassett was there. Every other person has had, it was like Kathy Bates throughout her film history, and it was like Nene Leakes on different episodes, and they always do this thing. But when Angela Bassett was there, instead of having us dress like Angela Bassett, we all dressed like Tina Turner, which was really odd. It would be like if we all dressed like the unsinkable Molly Brown. It was like Kathy Bates did this one thing, so everyone dressed like the Waterboy's mom. Everyone do the Waterboy's mom in a different scene of the Waterboy because Kathy Bates was in the Waterboy. Instead of doing Kathy Bates, it was. I just thought it was really weird. I don't know why they did that way. But we all dressed up like one character that Angela Bassett played in one movie. And even Angela Bassett was kind of like, what the fuck? I'm not Tina. I did do Tina Turner, but I've also done lots of other movies. She didn't say that. She was too classy to say it. But yeah, I did Watch What Happens Live. And I mean, this was, oh my God, probably 7-8 years ago.
Did you have fun doing it?
It was whatever. I mean, I remember leaving here saying I never do it again. Well, because you're a prop. Like, you are a prop. Like, it's not about celebrating the drag queen. It's about celebrating the person in the chair. By the way, the person in the chair deserves all the accolades. Go off. But like, if you're gonna have drag queens, like if you're gonna have Nene Leakes on your show, and then have these drag queens dressed up as Nene Leakes, I mean, that's cool, I guess. But there are lots, in my opinion, lots of drag queens who also deserve to sit in that seat. So when you are a prop, you're kind of treated like a prop. Like, they treat you like you're literally standing in the corner.
In other words, you want to go on as yourself, as Bob the drag queen, as the bartender, or whatever.
I wouldn't even want to do a bartender. I always said I would never go back on that show unless I'm sitting in a chair. Like, if I'm not sitting in the chair and Anderson Cooper or Andy Cohen is talking to me, I'm like, I'm not going back on that show. They've asked me to impersonate other celebrities before, and I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm not gonna go back. I'm not gonna be like, maybe it's my ego, but I'm not gonna go dress up like Nene Leakes after winning RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be like Bob the drag queen.
Is that what they asked you to do?
I can't remember if it was Nene Leakes or someone. It was some black lady, and they were like, dress up like this black lady. And I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't do impersonations. It's not really my thing. It doesn't pay. So I was like, why would I do? Why would I spend my night standing in a corner while Anderson Cooper talks to other people? Fuck, sorry, Andy Cohen. I also don't watch the show, which is clear, which is obvious at this point.
I know.
I did get the photo bomb of Sarah Paulson though, which was great.
You did?
Because it was the whole cast of American Horror Story. Not the whole cast. It was people from American Horror Story. So Shaquita was taking a picture with Sarah Paulson, and I was just standing in the background dressed as Tina Turner. I could probably find the picture somewhere out there.
Let's talk about HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and fantastic seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning and grocery store trips so that you can enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in about 30 minutes or less. They have tons of options like low calorie, carb smart, vegetarian, pescatarian, all these options every single week. Best of all, you're cutting down on grocery bills and food waste because HelloFresh is delivering the pre-portioned ingredients so that you're not overbuying at the store. I've been using HelloFresh for a while now and just really love just how quickly I can prepare the meals. I personally love their chicken and guac burrito bowls, comes with peppers and salsa. I also really love their turkey meatballs. You know you want a fresh start in the new year. Just go to HelloFresh.com/HotTakes10, use the code HotTakes10, and you'll get 10 free meals, including free shipping. Again, it's HelloFresh.com/HotTakes10. Use that code HotTakes10. You'll get 10 free meals, including free shipping. I want to talk about We're Here. It's on HBO. It's called We're Here, and it's Bob, Shangela, and Eureka O'Hara, and it's the three of you essentially bringing the magic of drag to all of these people who live in small towns.
We are just like connecting with people and helping like highlight really important voices in these communities. We're helping people realize that, like, you know, you this may sound shocking to someone listening to this. You're not the only gay person in Twin Falls, Idaho. There's a full community there existing.
How did it feel to go into these different towns as these big drag personas?
Well, it felt like a lot of different things at a lot of times. There were moments where it felt upsetting. I remember this. We were in Branson, Missouri, and we were in this candy shop, and this lady just pointed at me and said, "You're a man." I will never forget that. I remember being like, how dare you? Like, she pointed at Shanta and said, "You're a woman." And she pointed at Eureka and said, "You're a woman." Then she pointed at me and said, "But you're a man." And I remember being like, you got some nerve. I think what I said was, maybe you're a man. But I remember thinking to myself, like, some nerve. So there are moments like that where I didn't feel great. And there were also moments where you walk down the street and people would yell, "Bob the drag queen, we love you." And that felt wonderful. There are moments where I would cry backstage with the people we did shows with because I was so overwhelmed and overcome with emotion. There were moments where my feet were hurting. And Shangela and Eureka were driving me crazy. I mean, there have been, you know, we filmed for 9 months.
And you guys are coming back for season 2 later in the year. The show has been renewed. I guess to close this out, word on the street is that you have a very nice Jewish boyfriend who is also the photographer for many of your photos on Instagram. Tell me everything.
I do have a nice. He's right over there. I have a nice Jewish boyfriend who's sitting about 40 feet from me right now, eating his his kosher vegan meal. And I also have a nice Mexican boyfriend. I have two boyfriends, and my nice Mexican boyfriend is I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's probably at home. He lives in East Hollywood. Jacob is my nice Jewish lover. We met on Grinder, which is America's #1 gay dating app. We met in San Francisco, not sponsored. We met in San Francisco about two and a half years ago on Grinder. And then when I moved back there for Angels in America, we started dating. And then I met Ezra on America's second gay dating app, Instagram.
So like an open relationship?
Well, I do have open relationship, meaning like we hook up with other people who is not just the two of us. But I mean, Jacob and Ezra are not dating, but I am dating Jacob and Ezra. Does that make sense? I have two boyfriends. They're not dating each other, and I basically just go. They have joint custody. I mean, I go back and forth between them and their friends, and we all hang out. We go eat dinner together. We go we go to events together, and they just met like 2 weeks ago. But we hang out and then we watch movies together sometimes. Then we also spend time individual as well.
Final question. What was it like dating when you were living in New York City as the reigning Barracuda Monday night, like having this like phenomenal success in these bars? How did that impact your, like, were you looking for a relationship?
Well, I wasn't
or no
not
at
looking
that
for a
time?
relationship, but Jacob's my first boyfriend. My first two boyfriends are still my two boyfriends. Like I don't have any exes.
Jacob is
Jacob's
your
my
first boyfriend?
Yeah.
There's something really sweet about that. So you just waited a long time to get into a
Not really. I
relationship.
wasn't waiting. I just couldn't land anyone. And Jacob was the first
Yeah.
idiot dumb enough to fall for my tricks. Now I got two. They both fell for it. They're both very sweet. Jacob Ritz. You can Google him and look him up on Instagram. He's a photographer.
The photos on your Instagram are phenomenal.
Those are almost all Jacob. Not literally every photo, but most of the photos of me on Instagram are from Jacob. He went to the new school for photography. He's a really, really talented photographer. He's a real creative type.
I love it. Bob the Drag Queen, you're hilarious. I love you. Everyone should definitely check out these two specials. Tell everyone the names and where they can.
Yeah, so you can get them both on like at iTunes, but Suspiciously Large Woman, my first special, is available on Amazon Prime. And Bob the Drag Queen Live at Caroline's, you can buy it on iTunes. They're both really great. I'm particularly fond of the second one. I learned a lot between the two, and I'm really, really proud. Also they're both self-produced, by the way.
Really?
Yep. I remember feeling like I want a special, and no one was offering me one, so I looked at the other special and I said, I could do that. It's literally how I've done everything in my life. I could do that. I could do that. Yeah, it's expensive and you might not make the money back.
Tell everyone where to follow you online.
Yeah, Bob the Drag Queen. You can go to bobthedragqueen.com. All my stuff listed there. Or you can go on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, type in Bob the Drag Queen. I will pop up.
I love it. You can follow me, JessXNYC. Follow the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives, and we will see you soon.